Hey, good morning. Welcome. Happy Sunday and happy snowy Sunday, depending upon where you are. I'm so excited to be here on this Sunday. Yours truly, Dr. Carol Penn, with this exciting 10-part series of Weightless in Mind, Body, and Spirit. We are here on season 7. It is presented by Penn Global Visions and my team of super friends as we explore the worlds of weight loss, maintenance, aging in reverse, heart health, optimizing health, and wellness. Are you ready? Are you ready? So today's episode of Weightless in Mind, Body, and Spirit addresses living with the heart of a Buddha. So we're really talking about human compassion, and our special guest is Dr. Cyrus. You know him. He's been here before, but we will be right back after we hear our wonderful theme music by Kenny Brazil Hamilton. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Here we go.
Weightless, weightless. No matter what people say, you're full of greatness. Greatness. Time you opened up your eyes, you were courageous. Courageous. If only they could see you going through your paces. It's amazing. Weightless. No matter what people say, you're full of greatness. Time you open up your eyes, you walk courageous. If only they could see it going through your paces. It's amazing. Weightless. Matter what people say, you're full of greatness. Time you opened up your eyes, you were courageous. If only they could see you going through your paces. It's amazing.
Again, welcome and happy Sunday. And now we have a word from our sponsor.
Are you ready to take off your cape and wear your crown? We hope so. If you are, consider joining Dr. Carol's online course. It's a year-long course, Mindset Mastery, Weightless and Mind, Body, and Spirit. We're going to have a little more information about that at the end of the show, but stay tuned so you can fill your mind and wear your crown.
Well, my dear, I'm just wondering if people were curious and they wanted to check it out right now, where might they find out some information about that? Can I share that with them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a link right now that's at the bottom of the screen, and that will take you right to an information page to give you information about the program, about the course. And we'll talk a little bit more at the end, but I don't want to stop the show because this show is so exciting, and I'm ready to gain some wisdom from you and Dr. Ian this morning. So let's talk a little more about this course later.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much. We'll see
right.
you later. We will see you later.
All right. Great show.
All right. So, you know me, I really enjoy bringing the guest on so we can kind of see them blush a little bit as they hear about their accolades. But in the meantime, if you've joined us, go ahead and say hello in the chat so I could welcome you this morning and say happy Sunday to you. And I'm going to ask the team to go ahead and start inviting people in, wake them up, let's get them going, and let's get a nice audience going this morning so that we can have that lively, wonderful engagement that we usually have and enjoy. And I think we've got a couple of people. Yes, good morning, Dr. Kathy. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's exciting. We've got a couple of more people. Go ahead and say hello. Put your name in the chat so we can shout you out. My goodness, Wisconsin in the house. Is it snowing where you are? Good morning, and welcome, Essence. Where are you from, Essence? That's so exciting. We're really glad to see you here this morning. We have got such a great show planned, and I know I will have my pen. It's right here. I'm old school. I need to, do it on paper, and I will be taking notes. So listen, oh my goodness, good morning, Patricia. Yes. Happy hearts. Happy day, Dr. Carol and Dr. Ian. Yes. And good morning, Dr. Keena. My goodness. So the community is gathering this morning. That always makes me excited. There's so much we have to learn, and we are talking about loving with the heart of a Buddha. We're going to have the journey in the head, and we're going to have a journey in the heart. So before we go to have that journey in the head, I'm going to invite us all to have a little bit of a journey in the heart. So I'm going to bring my wonderful guest on so we could see him participating as well. Hey, Dr. Ian, good morning.
Good morning.
And I'm just going to, everyone, just take a moment and put your hand on your heart. You can even tap over the heart. The invitation is to listen not only with your head, but also with your heart, to have a sense of loving kindness and loving compassion for yourself right now. We're here on this weekend. Some of us will be celebrating Valentine's Day tomorrow, romantic love. Well, you can have a romantic love affair with yourself. You can really fall in love with yourself as a spiritual being, having a human experience. I invite you to fall in love with all persons and this planet, and to love going forward, and that deep compassion simultaneously. So every once in a while, every few minutes today, just go ahead and tap your heart and just remember that you can listen with the ears of the heart as well as the ears of the mind. All right, so let's hear about Dr. Ian, whom I love so much. A native of Trinidad and Tobago, a former U.S. Marine and FBI special agent. Well, drop the right mic right there. I just love this. I love this. This person who I know is gentle, compassionate, loving, and kind, who represents the very spirit of the Buddha to me. A U.S. Marine and FBI special. Hello. Okay. All right. He has earned a BS in sports medicine and an MS in biomechanics from Temple University, and is a certified athletic trainer. Since young adulthood, he has had several long-term apprenticeships, some under well-known masters. He is a graduate of the International School of Shiatsu of Doylestown, Pennsylvania. He graduated with honors from the Tri-State College of Acupuncture, New York, where he earned an MS in acupuncture, Oriental Medicine, and is a member of its advisory board. He is also a graduate of the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine, where he earned a doctorate of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, integrative medicine. He is currently a faculty member at the Wan Institute of Graduate Studies in Glenside, Pennsylvania, a graduate program in acupuncture and Oriental medicine. He is the founder and innovator of Oriental Medicine, Physical Medicine, a unique approach to myofascial pain and dysfunction and musculoskeletal pain. He's board certified by the National Commission for the Certification of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, and he has been in practice for well over 20 years. There are more accolades. I'm just going to stop right there because and if there's anything else, Dr. Ian, that you want to bring and tweak, please go ahead and add to that. But, that's a lifetime right there. And you have so much to share with us this morning. in terms of, well, often in functional medicine, we talk about getting at the root cause. Well, we're going to get at the root of some of these ideas and concepts being popularized here in the United States right now, and maybe get us a little bit back more on track with their origin and the intention behind the original intentions. So, they're being expressed now and being expressed a little bit differently. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, and we are so happy to have you here.
Good morning. Thank you. Let me just say that what Dr. Carroll talked about with the heart and the mind, in Chinese medicine, we say that the heart and the mind is the same. The same character for heart is the mind. So there isn't a distinction between heart and mind. It's the same. Recently, peer-reviewed science has found out that there are over 40,000 neurites in the heart, which are brain cells in the heart. Yes. Okay. And the interesting thing about these brain cells in the heart is that they function independently of the brain in many ways. So, that I just wanted to add that as a little fact. Okay.
All right, y'all, tap on it. Do you hear it? Already? The neurites found in the heart, which function independently of the heart. And what's also interesting about that paper, those neurites that are independent brain cells, they're also found in other parts of the body as well. So we get into that whole gut
like the gut, for instance.
Exactly.
Right. So when something is when you feel you have a gut feeling about something, there's some validity to that. Okay. But anyway, what I wanted to share with you all this morning is this whole concept of compassion and loving kindness, as we say in Buddhism, right? And I have a few slides I wanted to share with you, just to kind of like bring some accuracy to the linguistic component of this, because there's a lot of misunderstandings about what that is. You hear things like meditation or even Buddhism, and the language of this thing is important to bring you to a closer understanding about what this thing is. So if you're looking at this first slide, my Dharma name as a Buddhist monk is Gwandu Prajna. I'm not going to get into what that means right now. But anyway, that's me in my robes. And the next slide is, this is a slide of, I think this is the equivalent of St. Valentine's in Buddhism. This is Avalokitesvara, also known as Kuan Yin, who is known as the, I would say, the Bodhisattva of compassion and loving kindness. The Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, known in Chinese as Kuan Yin, is the embodiment of the virtue of compassion and became the most important deity in Buddhism around the 6th century CE, the Common Era, represented in different manifestations throughout Asia. So often you will find that Kuan Yin may look differently from culture to culture. And even though the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara is a male, this entity is often depicted as, with female qualities because of, I wouldn't say his, but this entity's level of compassion towards humanity. Okay, so that photo I showed you of Kuan Yin or Avalokitesvara is one of my favorites. This is a very famous depiction of Kuan Yin, which actually is rooted in Greek mythology, by the way. A lot of people don't realize that the Greeks actually had a rich Buddhist heritage. I mean, there were millions of Greeks who embraced Buddhism. And the first depictions of the Buddha or Kuan Yin or anyone like that came from the Greeks. That's just a fact. Okay. Continuing, Avalokitesvara or Kuan Yin is the earthly manifestation of self-born eternal Buddha Amitabha, whose figure is represented in his headdress, and as he guards the world in the interval between the departure of historical Buddha Gautama. So in many ways, what we're saying here is that the historical Buddha is actually also simultaneously Avalokitesvara. It's almost like a different persona, right? So continuing on. Now let's look at Karuna, and there's some words that expresses what this loving kindness and compassion is about. Karuna is generally translated as compassion or mercy, and sometimes self-compassion or spiritual longing. It is a significant spiritual concept in the Indic religions of Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism. So it's not unique to only one religious ideology. And others too, actually. And I just listed those there, but it's a very unique quality that's central to a lot of spiritual practices. You know, Buddhism just happened to be one of them. So you will hear Buddhists talk about karuna, but that is to be distinguished from metta or maitri is the Sanskrit term. Metta is the Pali Canon's description of that. And that's, sorry for the typo, bonding with the divine. Maitri can also mean benevolence, loving kindness, friendliness, amity, Godwill, active interest in others. It is the first of the four sublime states. So, you know, we celebrate Valentine's Day on one day of the year, right? But in the practice of the Dharma, which is you might call Buddhism, it's a quality that is developed every day of every year, not just one day. So loving kindness is fundamental to the practice of the spiritual tradition. At any rate, the cultivation of benevolence is a popular form of Buddhist meditation, and it's also within the Buddhist tradition a meditation, right? So I'll get to a little bit more about that in the next couple of slides, but it is a part of the four immeasurables, which is a form of meditation. Metta, or as compassion meditation, is often practiced in Asia by broadcast chanting, all right, or mantra, wherein the monks chant for the laity, which is the lay practitioner. Okay, and moving on. So this is the loving kindness prayer or mantra. I put it in English, but it's often chanted in Sanskrit, which says, may all beings everywhere be happy, may they be healthy, may they be at peace, and may they be free. That is the mantra of loving kindness. Now, I chose to put this in here as sort of like a bring some Western psychoanalytical thought to what this whole concept of love versus catexis. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the word catexis, but it says the investment of libido or psychic energy in objects outside of the self, such as a person, goal, idea, or activity. And versus this whole idea of love. I chose this description because it's one of my favorite books, and those of you who have never read it, you might want to do so. It's The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Beck. This has been a bestseller now for many, many years, and I really love this book. And here's what he says about that, about what love is. He says, the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. So often, the reason why I chose these two things is because cathexis isn't necessarily love. It's some kind of attachment, but it isn't love. And like in the Buddhist tradition, it's not important whether you tell somebody, look, I love you. It's more important to behave in a loving way. That's more important. And that's what we do within the Buddhist tradition. It's more, because we have all kinds of thoughts going around in our heads, and it's not always very loving. But that's to be distinguished. That's to be distinguished from behaving in a loving way towards somebody. So you don't have to necessarily say you love someone the way we understand that, but as long as you behave in a loving way towards them, it transcends that emotion of what we might call love. Okay, so those were the few slides I wanted to share with you. The rest of this stuff has to do with meditation, so maybe that's another program. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for that. So I just wonder, how many people who are participating with this morning have ever done the metta or the loving kindness meditation, if they've heard of it, if they're familiar with it. I have so many thoughts going through my head, and let's go back to the idea of Kuan Yin. I know in Western tradition, Kuan Yin, the closest that we have would be the idea or the concept of Mary as the mother of Jesus. Mary depicted as, representing compassion in the Western mind from the Judeo-Christian traditions. Also, this concept of the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. So, and love thy neighbor as thyself. So these concepts, I don't think, are unfamiliar to the Westerner or the Western mind. And then yet there's this, beautiful nuance as they arise out of the Buddhist traditions. And then I love how you brought in the tradition of the Greeks and the Greek history with that Buddhist history. So we can see that there is a geographical reference along with this historical reference, and how cultures through time have built upon and intertwined from each other's wisdom traditions. So thank you. Thank you for layering that for us.
You're welcome.
So my question to you would be, and I'm thinking of my grandmother to me, who was a manifestation of the aspect of Kuan Yin, in that she was not an I love you person. She didn't run around saying, I love you. But yet when you were in her presence for, I would say, more than 3 minutes, you felt held in a space of respect and honor and love and just completion as a spiritual being having a human experience. She was so powerful in her presence of being able to extend that sense of kindness and compassion. So when we're talking about loving with the heart of a Buddha, is that what you're talking about? Becoming that person?
Absolutely. That is reflected in Buddhism and other traditions like that, and even in martial arts as well. We bow to each other, right? Right. But most people interpret that as a form of respect. It has nothing to do with respect. It has everything to do with bowing to the divine presence within that person. It has everything with bowing to your potential self. That's really what that means. And that is that whole reflection of love, that look past the veil of form in front of you and bow to something greater than yourself, which is the divine presence within each and every one of us. And that's why, masters like, Yeshua ben Joseph, who is Jesus, right? The Buddha, the historical Buddha. If you look at who these people gathered around them, these people were, murderers and thieves and fishermen, and they were illiterate. And in other words, they demonstrated what we call illicit love. After all, and I'll end with this one, God is love, right?
Yes.
Simply put, right. So that's the example that these masters left us. So it's not about demonstrating that on any given day like Valentine's Day. It's about being in the moment with that, with compassion and kindness. And, we live in a world now, mind you, where everybody's on edge, right? There is this agitation in the atmosphere, right? So, people cutting each other off on the highway. If you look at the news every day in Philadelphia, there is all these shootings and carjackings and home invasions. And where is the loving kindness in all of that, right? So we really have to be that point of light and demonstrate that loving kindness. And as Dr. Carroll says, presence is everything. That's really what it is. And that is a meditation, by the way, having the right intention as you move through your day, as you come into contact with people, as you interact with people, having the right intention to bow to that divine presence within each and every one of us is really what this is about. It really is. So, yeah.
And my mind is going to how right now, within a person's own home, a person's own life, a person might be struggling with something. There is, the sense of having a broken heart or a sadness because there is an upset with a family member. Now you take that same person, they're going to come outside of the home and they're stepping into a world where there seems to be, and it's palpable, feelings of hatred one toward the other, and people buying into this and willing to hurt you because you express a different view politically. So how do we keep watering this idea of bowing to the divine in the other when the outward appearance seems to be everything but loving and feels threatening? It's that little part of our brain talking about going into, our heads and our physiology. The amygdala is going, not safe, not safe, not safe. And we see the rates of anxiety going up. We see the diagnosis of depression going up. We see the rates of suicide occurring. So where's the tipping point, and where's the personalized medicine that a person can come into that space where they can bow to the divine in each person and in each situation that they encounter?
Mm-hmm. That is very profound, which brings me to the next thing I was going to talk about, which is meditation. You see?
Okay.
Thanks for bridging that gap for me, because the activity of the heart mind is really important to bring you to a state of equanimity, right? That is important. The term meditation, there's so many connotations to what. There's so many different types of meditations, including loving kindness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the root Sanskrit term for what meditation, there's two of them actually. One is jhana, spelled Dhyana, jhana, which means mindful contemplation. It doesn't mean meditation. Those are different things. Okay? So when jhana made its way into, say, China, it became Chan. So you hear the Chinese talk about Chan, or they talk about Chan Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing. That's the method the Buddha used to achieve liberation, not enlightenment. There's no such thing as enlightenment in Buddhism. That's an American thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay? So when this tradition found its way to Korea, it became Sun, S-E-O-N, Sun. It made its way to Japan, it became Zen. So this overuse of the term Zen was only because Roshi Suzuki, a Japanese monk who came here in the 60s, promoted this whole idea of Zen, but it's all the same thing dating back to the time of the Buddha, which is jhana. So this practice went to Vietnam and it became Tien, T-I-E-N, same thing. So it's about the culture. It's about when it got to China, Buddhism was infused with Taoism and it became Chan.
Mm-hmm.
It went to Korea, it became infused with Korean shamanic practices and it became Sun. So wherever this practice or tradition goes, there is cultural appropriation taking place.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the other word that describes what meditation is smrti, like S-M-I-R-T-I.
Yes.
Smrti, meaning this moment. So here is a practice I will describe briefly for you. Imagine yourself sitting in a movie theater. You're there by yourself. There's no one else around. And the movie being played on the screen is your own thoughts, or are your own thoughts. You can see your thoughts moving across the screen. The practice is not to attach any meaning or significance to anything you see. Then you know you're not your thoughts. You know that your thoughts is just an artifact of the mind, right? And it has no bearing on the fact that you're sitting there. That's an important practice. Okay. Now, if as you're sitting there watching your thoughts float by and you're just observing them, if something catches your attention for a second or a moment, you simply ask yourself, and this is a practice that us Buddhist monks engage in, you simply ask yourself, what is this? Who am I? This is it. You ask yourself those three questions. So, but when you ask those questions, particularly, what is this? You ask it with your entire being. It's a point of inquiry that allows you to connect with what's going on in your mind. The other thing that happens with that is that you become what I call the observing presence. So that devil we used to talk about that sits on your left shoulder and talk to you, well, yeah, well, you can replace that with an angel or something like that, or a bodhisattva, right? So as you observe, it's almost like as we're having this show this morning, imagine there's an aspect of you that's observing this from a different vantage point. And all you do is observe. So sometimes it's helpful to sit in this moment and simply observe without reacting, because we're all in a state of reactivity. And in order to express love and compassion, you have to tone down that reactivity to what is. That is how the practice begins. So it actually begins with a very fundamental practice in mindful contemplation. That is, simply observe, don't react. So those are two things, without me getting too deeply into this whole concept of reactivity. And you see, I'm looking at Patricia and what she's saying there. I'll tell you something about that. Everybody tries to stop themselves from thinking. They think that meditation is that you stop thinking. It's impossible. The brain is a thinking machine. So the more you try to stop yourself from this discursive thinking that we all engage in, the louder it gets. What you have to do is just as I just described, is to be the participant observer in your own thought process, not attaching anything to it. We have this thing in Buddhism, we say, what arises ceases. Just allow that to occur. That's the good news. The good news is whatever arises is going to cease. So meditation is an active thing. It's not something that you just sit there and, there's some Buddhist traditions where they spend hours upon hours upon hours upon hours sitting in meditation. God knows what the heck they're thinking about, right? They're probably thinking about the shopping list they're going to deal with when they're done. That is not meditation. Meditation actually occurs when you get off your cushion.
Right.
And you start to engage the world around you. I use this example of a friend of mine. He's a fellow monk, and here he is, 2-3 hours of meditation. Then he gets up from the meditation, he gets in his car, he starts the car up, he gets into traffic, somebody cuts him off, and he cusses at the guy. That is not expressing loving kindness.
Right. Right.
So what point is him sitting on that cushion for 3 hours? It's pointless. So it's a practice, and the more you practice in a very practical way, being kind to people, being courteous, somebody wants to cut you off, let them cut you off, because they're only going to get there 2 seconds ahead of you anyway, right? So it's a practice. I can't emphasize that enough.
That's really beautiful. It is, well, what we would say in the modern day, it's a lifestyle, right? It's a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle, so, and what are the ways? And I often think that, how does the modern day contemplative show up? Who are these people? Who is this tribe of people that really are the modern day contemplatives? And I think they are the people who are embodying and demonstrating loving kindness off of the cushion, off of the, outside of the yoga class. We have people that come and they do all these things and they do all these postures and they do this breath work. And at a certain level, that by itself is really good for our physiology. But it is the concepts, if you will, behind the posture, behind the breath work, particularly if you're also sharing the Sanskrit vocabulary, which has a particular vibrational energy and energetic imprint all by itself, where you have the 8 limbs of yoga. And it is the way you live your life, right? Yep,
it's the way. And that's what the Buddha called his practice, the middle way. That's what Yeshua ben Joseph called when he was asked by his disciples, what is this practice? He simply said, it's the way.
The way. Yeah, Jesus said the way.
The way. I am the way. It's the way.
Yes.
And who better examples than Yeshua, ben Joseph, and the historical Buddha. These guys showed us the way. And the way is simply loving kindness. It all boils down to that. So never mind what's in your head, transcend yourself and behave in a loving way towards people. Yes. That's what people would respond to the most. It's a kind word, and words, another piece of research I read recently about the power of words, it can actually cause gene expression changes in your DNA.
Yes. Now we're going to get into Dr. Kathy's favorite subject, epigenetics.
So you see, this is all sort of like, how your tone of voice, the level of of tonality in your voice, and it carries, it has an impact. So when you say mean things to people, you're wounding them.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and you know, and you know, to get really spiritual about this now, this entire world that we live in is based on what? Sound, vibration. You know, even though in the book of Genesis in the Bible, it talks about in the beginning was what? The Word.
The Word, the Word.
The Word. And the Word was, and God said, there you go. So, you know, so as Dr. Carroll stated, you know, using yoga, meditation practices, combining it with mantra and mudra, all of those things are important to raise your own energy level.
Vibration.
That's what it does. But as you raise your energy level, your behavior, the way you emote into the world around you has to be consistent with that.
Yes. 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 And, you know, and I think, you know, it gets back to people, oh, you know, how long do I need to meditate? How, I said, well, as long as it takes for you to feel that lift off.
Exactly.
And because you can feel it. You feel it when your vibration is raised. You feel it when, you know, you're fully awake. It is a physical sensation. So oftentimes when I'm working with people and I'll stop them, I'll say, where are you feeling that in your body? That story, that thought right now. And bring their attention to that moment. When you said this, you felt this here, something changed, something shifted. You know, and this might be something going back, you know, Patricia's question about, you know, having a traumatic event and falling, and then also, you know, grieving the loss of a friend, you know, and she's gone and she's, had sought a medical device for the physical fall. And now she's asking, how can she calm her mind and body down? Because she's been shook. She's been shook on a physical level as well as a spiritual level. She recognizes that in terms of, I think, perhaps alluding to the grieving process with the transition of her dear friend.
A little over 49 days ago, my Buddhist mentor and teacher passed away prematurely, right? I spoke to him on a Thursday evening, and every Thursday evening we had a Zoom conference because he lives in California and I'm here. And part of the training of us training monks, it's the interface with him weekly. So I spoke to him, and guess what we talked about that Thursday before he transitioned, or as we say, achieved nirvana. Most people think nirvana is this blissful state. It's not that. The term nirvana in Sanskrit simply means to blow out. It's like, imagine a lit candle and you go, it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, to a blowing out, to blow out. That's what nirvana means. And he blew out. I don't see that as necessarily a negative thing. It was his higher self, his divine self did the work already, and it was time to him to leave. Now, the rest of us who are left, we're a little bit in chaos. We're wondering what's going to happen to our order, the 5 Mountain Zen order that I belong to. We're wondering who's going to step into a position of leadership. There's a bit of a chaos, but I think he's probably where he is going, all right, guys, get it together, right? So, one of the things he said to me is that death is what makes life possible. Now, that statement kind of like, when I, bounced around in my head quite a bit. Death makes life possible. When you really think about it, that's absolutely true. So my feeling about that is that, I rejoice in his homegoing because he's rejoined with the source of all creation. And so I hope that We miss him. I miss him. This guy was very colorful, and the way he did things, his language was very colorful. I mean, if it was him talking here, there would have been at least about 50 expletives involved in this conversation. but he was a powerful spiritual presence. When it's time to go, it's time to go. Like everything that arises ceases, and that includes ourselves. Yeah. We want permanence, and it's not possible. The very fact of our presence is ever changing and evolving, and yet still we want things to remain the same. It's not possible. It's accepting those realities and not reacting to them, which is an important practice, and realizing that this moment, and how we used to put that is moment mind. Right? Moment to moment. And the moment is gone. Moment to moment. And how your senses, a sense of touch, feel, smell, taste, your intuition, how it's informing your reality in that moment. So, like I said already, when you get off your cushion, that's when the meditation begins. And it gives new meaning, I would say, to walking in prayer. Because as you move through your day and everything that you encounter, if you're not walking in prayer, this isn't going to work. You're going to get angry. You're going to get sad. You're going to get da. So, I tell my students, get off the cushion, put the book down, and practice. So.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Just, the idea of walking in prayer. Thich Nhat Hanh has a statement, walk upon your feet are as your hands walking upon the earth, caressing the earth. Just caressing the earth, loving yourself, loving the earth, loving all sentient beings, loving all things, and having this vibration that literally runs through you and down into your awareness that, as my foot touches upon the earth, may it do so as a loving caress, even in this moment.
Yes.
Even in this right now.
It's right now. Even Jesus or Yeshua was very clear about that when asked, "Where's heaven?" He says, if heaven were up there with the clouds and the birds or the creatures of the sky, they will get there before you do. If heavens were in the depths of the ocean with the creatures of the sea, they will get there before you do. He says the good news is heaven is right here, right
now.
Yeah. Split a piece of wood, you'll find me there. Turn over a rock and you'll find me there. That was his quote.
Yes.
I think it went over most of his disciples' heads.
Well, and I still think it's going over people's heads. I think, one of the things that I'm doing in my work personally and sharing professionally is this idea of moving forward in love, simultaneously loving persons and the planet. If the earth dies, we gonna die. There's no question about it, and the suffering that is going to cause, on the way. So, and I think, personally, a goal of my own life is this idea of nirvana, the candle is blown out, and just, the opportunity in that. But in the meantime, while the candle is lit, what am I doing? What am I doing with this precious opportunity
this precious gift?
Life? Yes, a gift.
Yeah, that light is a gift. And one little light can scatter a whole lot of darkness. So you have to be the light of the world, right? You have
Yes.
to. And I want to say finally, look, the Buddha taught 4 postures when it came to meditation, if you want to call it that. All right. 4: standing, walking, sitting, and lying. That describes our daily activities and the transition from one to the other. So that's why this walking in prayer, this moment mind, it doesn't matter what position you find yourself in, as we're sitting or standing or walking or lying, maintain the moment mind.
Oh, that's so beautiful, because every day we lie down, we sit, we stand, and we walk or move about. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another way of saying, and pray without ceasing. Let your life be as a prayer, because you're going to do all those things. And
Exactly.
everything that we do is a prayer, whether we call it a prayer or not.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so, are you tipping the scale toward doing things in a loving and a kind way? Or at the end of the day, if we were to do the tally, that as you sat, lie down, walked, and stood up, with the tally tipped toward not so kind, not so considerate.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there
And
there is in it there is a day-to-day measure that's being made. You might not be keeping score, but somebody is.
well, yeah, I mean, the other thing about this moment, this now, it informs the past and the future.
Yes.
That's what it does, because if you're fully present in the moment, that becomes the simple history of your life. And then you get to the point where there isn't I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Mm-mm. It's to eliminate that. So,
Wow. Wow.
there is a lot to this whole thing, but start somewhere, and the starting somewhere could be that exercise I spoke about sitting in the movie theater. That is your mental activity that you want to try to like tone it down, so that we say in Buddhism it's called the monkey mind, because it's leaping from branch to branch, right?
Yes.
Right, right. And we have certain practices about eliminating those kind of discursive thinking. Like we have this thing called a kongan or koan. And what a kongan or koan is, it's a paradoxical statement that stops discursive thinking. And here's what I'm going to leave you with. What did your face look like before you were conceived by your parents?
Ooh.
Contemplate that.
I love it. I love it. There, Linda's putting in, this is a lot to digest. Yes. So, this just means that, we're going to have you back on this show at least once a quarter. You can see scrolling across the bottom of the screen ways to contact Dr. Ian. Be sure to reach out to him to find out. He has classes, he has workshops. So lots of ways to engage with him. I'm hoping that Dr. Ian and I, we gonna plan a day together to really help people experience, or have a deeper dive, or to taste a little bit more of what we're talking about this morning, which has been so incredibly exciting. So listen, y'all, this is bringing us to the end of this episode in season 7. We'd like to thank our special guest, Dr. Ian Cyrus, for joining us during Loving with the Heart of a Buddha, this journey about compassion. We hope that there has been a lot of highlights that occurred for you. Certainly, this is one that occurred for me. As you raise your energy level, your vibration, your behavior changes also. Dr. Ian, thank you so much for that. Be sure to tune in next week, where we are going to be talking with an entrepreneurial spirit, Miss Victoria. Miss Victoria, we're going to go to the Gambia. next week. And that's going to be very exciting, and learning more about a project that is unfolding there. And don't forget, you can catch this entire episode as a podcast of the same name, Weightless in Mind, Body, and Spirit with Dr. Carol Penn. And we want you to go on and listen as a podcast. We want you to go on over to Anchor FM, drop a little review about us. We want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel with Dr. Carol Penn. This is how actually the YouTube is Carol Penn. This is how we share good news. This is how we share and spread some light in the world. And while you might not have your own show, that's why I have my show. Take advantage of it, share it with friends and families. And we are going to bring our sponsor back on one more time to share a little bit more about an opportunity and an offering that I have for the community. So welcome, Mr. Diem Jones. Oh, wait. There we go. Now you're there you are.
All right. Thank you both for such a fabulous, uplifting, informative, stimulating show. My mind is, I guess, taking on some of those characteristics that you mentioned, Dr. Ian. It's bouncing here, it's bouncing there, but are you ready to take off your cape and put on your crown? Yes, I'm here from Penn Global Visions to let you know that Dr. Carol has a course called Mindset Mastery, Weightless in Mind, Body, and Spirit. It's a year-long course. Scrolling across the bottom of the screen very shortly will be a link for you to be able to go sign up for this course. It's a group course. It meets live once a month with Dr. Carol, and every week you get a lesson sent to you that is a special lesson designed by Dr. Carol. There's a quiz attached to it. It's all part of this process. We have to begin to engage discovering our own inner workings, because the better we understand our inner workings, the better we can be in the rest of the world. So, Mindset Mastery, Weightless in Mind, Body, and Spirit could be your opportunity to take off that cape and put on your crown. Sign up now.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're we're having a lot of fun with that. And again, it is about building a community. What do you want the world to look like? What do you want the world to continue to express as? And so we need to gather, right? We need to gather with like-minded people that want to show up as love, that want to walk in prayer, that want to have their feet caress the earth, loving. I am that blade of grass. Where do you find me? I am under the rock. I am in the clouds. I am in the eyes of the beloved, bowing to the divine within each other. So listen, y'all, come back here next week. Thank you so much, Dr. Ian. We love you. We love you.
Thank you.
Word. And we are going to have the wonderful, the amazing Kenny Brazil Hamilton play us out. I'll see you backstage in the green room. Thank you to our production team. Thank you so much, team. You know who you are. You're beautiful. The show wouldn't happen without you. So call their names, Diem and Kenya. We love you as well. We bow to the greatness of you as well. We bow to each one who showed up this morning and watched us live. Don't forget, share it with your community. And Kenny, take us on out of here.
Weightless, weightless. No matter what people say, you're full of greatness. Greatness. Time you opened up your eyes, you were courageous. If only they could see you going through your paces. It's amazing